All right, I got the downpipe dropped out, or the front, I don't know what you call that here. I got that dropped out, and I'm able to see the starter, get to the electrical connection, and I did get the wiring pulled out. In the process, look what I found. Yeah, more zip ties that somebody didn't flush cut. Yeah, look at my arm there. That's fun. Assholes. So here's the old harness. This is the alternator end. So see, there's my D plus wire with that terminal block strip. And then it has a spade connector here that's been heat shrunk. And these ring lugs have all been replaced at one point or another. And if you go a little further down, there's that one mystery wire that was sticking out. There's the other end of the mystery wire. And if you'll see, that's yellow with green. Like this. This is like what we use for protective earth wire. I mean, it's wire. It's fine to use it. It's just a very odd specific color to find in this harness, which, by the way, has been completely rewrapped in electrical tape at some point. Now, down on this end, this is the end that was on the starter, and that's kind of boogery, and then the insulation's breaking. So I'm going to redo that harness, because I want a good harness. So a couple of things I'm considering for the harness. I have this amplifier battery cable. I don't know what size that is. It's very finely braided stuff. I've heard you shouldn't use this as battery cable before, which I can kind of understand. It maybe isn't the best for battery cable. But my alternator cable, where I'm putting out and I'm charging, this ought to be plenty good for it. I got this random bit around, and it's plenty long compared to my old harness. So I've got that. I also have a bunch of these really nice pre-made cables that I salvaged. And they've already got a lug crimped onto them. Boy, I don't even know what gauge that is, but it's more than enough. I'm just not sure that's what I want to use and run around in the engine bay. But those are really nice, completely tinned. That's really expensive cable there. Now I also have this 10 gauge Raychem wire, and this is good stuff too. The Raychem is it's pretty good quality. It has pretty thin insulation on it compared to most wiring, which is actually really, really nice because you get a heavy gauge with thin insulation, and it's tough stuff. It really is. I've never used it in an engine bay before and seen, I don't know how well it's going to hold up to heat over time, but I have that. I also have a lot more of this lap cable, German lap cable. As you can see up in the wire storehouse, I have quite a bit of that. All that up there that's red is 14 gauge, which I'd kind of like to use for a positive. And then all the black stuff up there is 12 gauge, which is close to the gauge I want. And then, like I said, that red is 10 gauge. So I'm a little torn about what to use here. Oh, and then the protective earth is also 12 gauge. All right, a couple more things. I cut off one of the old lugs here and stripped back the insulation. Measured the diameter of that old wire, and that appears to be 12 gauge. So I definitely want to stick with at least 12 gauge. I also realized I don't have lugs that'll work on that big audio cable. So I don't have any lugs, period, for it to crimp on. So I can't do that right now. That one, that pre-made, these really nice pre-made cables I have a lot of, I don't think I can use easily either because the new alternator has a fairly tight protected area around there. So I think I have to use this style of lug with some 12 gauge cable, maybe 10 gauge. And this is the only lug like that I need, and I need at least 3 more, maybe 6, depending on what else I do. So I also pulled back this wire, which runs down to the starter where the main battery cable is, and I believe this is the wire that's then feeding everything on the other side of the firewall. So if you can see down by the starter end where it's hot, it's been baked. And that insulation's cracking. This has been wrapped up in electrical tape. It's a little sketchy looking, so I'm thinking about replacing this as well. It comes back to this molded plug over here, and I don't think I have any way to work with this plug right now. So if I replace this cable, I'm going to have to solder it right here or do some big spade connectors or something on them and heat shrink them. But I'm thinking I want to replace this as well, so I need at least another ring lug to deal with that. So I guess what that means is I'm going to stop working. It's about 6:30. Close the hood, go to the hardware store, get some more lugs, and then start building cables tonight.